Greetings everyone, RSV here. Patch day is less than 12 hours away, so I'd like to do a video telling you what you should expect from the Retem update. I'll start with some obvious things. I would assume that there is going to be an extended maintenance. I do not have faith in the Pso2 team at the moment for there not to be an extended maintenance. I think they did make the right choice by extending the maintenance period by pushing it back a bit, but I do think that they will have an extended maintenance regardless. There is very much so likely to be something that goes wrong. But let's go on to things that will actually drop during Retem. And some of these will be obvious, but I might share some useful tip for you to use once it does drop, so let's begin. First off, this one's a bit obvious. Our levels will be uncapped. It's important to note that the word I used was uncapped. We should keep all previous XP that we have. So, if you are level 20 currently, and you are one enemy kill away from leveling up, you should remain that way once Retem drops. So, you can start off Retem at level 21 if you are in that position. Another thing is, when the Retem update drops, you should be prompted to go see Crawford or go do a quest that ends up leading us to be in Retem if you have cleared the main storyline. Make sure that you have cleared all your main quest, so that way you don't get clotheslined on the way to Retem. 5-star weapons will likely drop, and we also know that they will have their color variants in the game already, which is great. On top of this, we will have the Pixar Augment transfer system in the game, which will help out a lot. If the colors are also transferable, that would be a great boon as well. If we want a weapon's unique color variant and we don't get it to start with, it means that there is still a bit of resistance there to then have to go and craft up that color changed weapon and put the fix or augment on it, which probably costs Meseta and it's more sync. It's just something to consider. But the weapons that drop should be similar to Gigantics plus what we had in base Alio. So I'm expecting a Resurger series, so a series that covers all. A 5-star version of Straga for the Gigantics, a Catlia, Violto, and Forces weapon series that don't cover all the weapon types as well, and just cover a few. That's what I'm expecting anyway. It's not set in stone, but we did see quite a few of the weapons that we will be getting, so I think that this is a fair assumption to make here. In addition to this, we should expect to get some additional story quests and just quests in general, especially from the 2 quest-giving girls that will exist. These quests should tell us a bit more about Retem and set us up. Hopefully they set us up with some like initiation quests to gain Retem's trust or something. More so than just, oh, we're suddenly friends now because we're a magical friend MacGuffin. Another thing is to expect new enemies and new urgent quest. We do know that the Dust or Sword urgent quest is deploying, and we have seen new versions of old enemies as well. But we do know that there are strictly new enemies spawning in the world that we'll have to learn the patterns of. Another thing to keep note of is that the title system will be dropping in Retem. This means that we will have to go back and complete old content to unlock those titles for SG and other rewards. Although it is uncertain if there will be other rewards tied to titles this time round, as they've only shared that SG will be available, but I personally would assume that it's probably not just SG, and there probably is most likely some other material or resource reward on the titles. It just makes a lot of sense, especially for gathering reward titles and stuff. And finally, we have additional instant content in the form of new cocoons, new yellow trigger, and new purple trigger. Of course, the purple trigger isn't technically new, it is just the old purple trigger with different bosses in it at a higher level technically. But it should be some fun for a nice period of time. It's hard to say how long it will be enjoyable for, especially considering, as I've said before, if we have no reason to actually go in there and do it after we've gotten our gear sets, it kind of becomes a moot point. I personally don't see it lasting very long, especially if I happen to get a Fix of 5 by a drop. I personally don't really care about farming for Fix of 5, and Fix of 5 is probably the only reason why I'd continuously do the purple trigger, so it's hard to say how long it's going to be relevant to me. I only did the purple Alio trigger like 3 times. I only completed it twice because there was just no reason to do it because I was already at, well, what I considered to be best in slot anyway. Here are some additional possibilities that aren't for certain, but would probably be nice additions to Retem and would help the game out significantly. Alio and Alio urgent quests may get a level increase. I've talked about this before, and we do know that the older Alio zones are getting a better version at some point on the roadmap. However, if they did get buffed up to at least somewhere that's like, you know, relative to Retem, it would be a good boon, because it means that we have double the zones to work with, and it would prolong the content a bit more, I feel, especially if the Gigantics from Alio do drop at least the same units as the Sandstorm Requiem ones, but I do doubt that this will happen because it just doesn't seem likely to me. Concerts have also been teased somewhat with Nadia's voice actor, and because of this, it is likely that we will get more teased in the process of going through the Retem questline, but this is not certain. But there will probably be some tells, like for example with Kuna. There are quite a few tells that Kuna was Kuna in the storyline, but it's hard to say. We'll have to just wait and see, really. And lastly, we'll go into the scratches. Medical Masters plus the AOT scratch for Attack on Titan scratch will expire, and the Merc style plus the new Retem packs will drop. I got nothing really to say here. This is pretty normal. Otherwise, moving on to the 22nd, Mystical Reverie will also expire on this date, and the Christmas scratch will begin. I'm personally excited for the Christmas scratch. There is a lot of nice things on it, like the sled emote, and just a lot of good costumes for Christmas. Christmas event. So, we all know that the Christmas event will be starting at some point here. Now, there is a list of things here for me to talk about in this case, as they're all fairly related. First off, we know we are getting a scavenger hunt. We were teased this in the headline, and it looks fairly interesting. I can't say much else about it, though. It could be fun, but I don't know how long it will be fun for. I have said that also previously in a previous video. We will possibly get a new elemental weapon. If Christmas does not have a new elemental weapon, it will be the first event that has not dropped a new weapon series in the history of the game. The original 3 events all dropped a elemental weapon series. So it is probably fairly safe to assume that we will be getting a new elemental weapon series in the Christmas event. I'd vote Ice just because, you know, Christmas, and also because Fire isn't around, but we could also get Light, Dark, or Wind as well, just to give us a new elemental weapon. It'd be interesting. And another thing that I would like to mention, it isn't certain that enemies will have mischief symbols above their heads this time around. We did get teased about the Christmas event, but I didn't see any mischief symbols in the teasing, and this seems like an obvious thing for them to tease considering they did it 3 times in a row. So, I guess we'll have to wait and see on that note. I'll honestly be disappointed if they don't have mischief symbols on their head this time around, because this time is the perfect time for them to have them on their heads. In my opinion, anyway. I hope my video was enjoyable or useful to you. If you liked the video, please remember to like and subscribe. I have been RSV, and I will see you next time.